Well, I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us. We're continuing these special editions of Newsmakers looking at the virtual interviews through what's happening on the Missouri Southern campus. And today, of course, we're focusing on athletics, a big area that was impacted a lot by the closure of campus and online transition. So I thank the three of you for joining me today for this interview.
Thanks for having us, Judy.
I'll start off with Jared, athletic director. Your area was tremendously impacted. How have things gone in the last few weeks since we've had this sudden change in everybody's life?
Well, it's been challenging to say the least. It happened so abruptly. We had, and I'm sure Coach Schiding will talk about it, but our track program was at the national meet, and our basketball team, men's basketball, was getting ready to go to regionals, and we're almost loading the bus, and things changed so dramatically so quickly. But just, with the student athletes impacted, we've got 500 plus student athletes, and some of the spring sports, including track and field and softball, baseball, golf, men's and women's golf, just didn't have a chance to compete really much, and that's just really sad. So just trying to make sure the student athletes are taken care of, making sure classes are going well, and making sure our faculty and our staff and our coaches and everyone's just doing well and taking care of themselves.
Great. So everybody's back home or somewhere in a safe position at this point where they're pursuing their online education.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We do have still some on campus, some student athletes on campus and some students on campus who are just not able to get home yet. International normally would be more of the more difficult consideration, but most of our student athletes have left the campus and have gone home and are doing the activities they can do from there.
Okay. Well, Justin, with media relations, I imagine this has really impacted your area as well, as far as, how do you get the word out about athletics when you don't have athletics happening?
Yeah, it's we just try to keep stuff fresh on the website, and with our social media, the one aspect that is really it's made it difficult, with no contact on campus. We're not even media have to do all their interviews through Zoom like we're doing now too. And so anytime they need to talk to our coaches, either they meet off campus, which has not been the norm, or they just do a Zoom meeting, which we've done a few of.
Right. Now, Coach Schiding, you, of course, were, as you mentioned, right there at the forefront, ready to start competing when, I guess, basically you could say the carpet was pulled out from under everyone. That was probably a big, once-in-a-lifetime, never-happened-before situation. But from your situation to coach and working with the athletes at the time, share some thoughts about that. And I think your mic is still muted.
There we go. Technology is fantastic.
Right.
It was probably the most difficult thing that I've ever had to do as a coach, to sit and tell these kids that have worked very hard in the classroom and obviously in practice and on the track that their biggest meet of their career is then canceled. Certainly we were already at the facility for 3 days training at the national championships, and the call came in, so we had to go down in the lobby and have a talk. So it was very difficult. I really think that our student athletes handled it as well as could be expected. It was a very quiet bus ride home for sure. But yeah, it's certainly challenging. It's unprecedented, and we're just trying to take it day by day and do as much communicating and being as transparent with the student athletes as we can.
Of course, your team, the indoor team, really had a successful season leading up to going to the nationals. Reflect on the accomplishments that you had with that team and where you were heading.
It's difficult to say where we were heading. We had really big expectations going into the national championships and really going into the outdoor season. I can't say how proud we are of the student athletes, how hard they work, and how well they competed this indoor season. And we still had about 20 student athletes that hadn't had a chance to compete because they were only outdoor athletes or they were redshirting the indoor season. The accomplishments, I think, speak for themselves. They earned every bit of what they did this year. Numerous school records and a number of qualifiers, and just taking that amount of kids to a national championship, I think speaks volumes for where the program really is and certainly has a bright future. But, there's no one or two individuals that you can really pick out. We just had a tremendous year across the board with them. I'm just really proud of them. Yeah.
Coach, you received some honors nationally with the National Division II Men's Coach of the Year for the track and field and cross country. Your reaction to receiving that award?
It was surprising, I think. I was obviously elated with the information and excited about it. And truly, it's not, I don't think that the national award should be, and we had it at the conference level, I think it's a full staff type award. I mean, I have amazing coaches. I think that we have some of the best coaches in the NCAA for track and field and cross country, and they certainly do the majority of the footwork, and they just do a tremendous job. And really, I'm glad and lucky to be a part of it. But yeah, it's a tremendous honor, and I think that it'll help the program moving forward. Hopefully, get some more high elite level student athletes in here, and just continue to go the direction that we're going.
Okay. Now, Jared, there are a number of accomplishments from the athletic department, in addition to Coach Schiding, that you've had even with this shortened year for what's happened with Missouri Southern athletics.
Well, absolutely. We have, for the fourth straight semester, we've had a 3.0 GPA, cumulative with 500, student athletes. We had 10 that were 4.0 and 188 that were above a 3.0. So this year, just academic success has been amazing. The community engagement's been stellar. We're over 5,000 community service hours in our department, including coaches and staff and student athletes. And those are things like Third Thursday, reading in schools, Ronald McDonald House. A lot of our track athletes volunteer, particularly distance ones, volunteer at a lot of the road races around town and are there to help facilitate those events, which are important for youth and important for a lot of the folks in the community. So I think we had 2 national players of the week, 24 or 28 or something like that, MIAA athletes of the week over the course of the year up to the point where we were at. Strikeout record leader for the MIAA. Obviously, and we've had, the numerous things with track and cross country, but regional recognitions and with our coaching staff, MIAA recognitions, and some of our athletes between Emily and those folks as well. So it's pretty exciting. We're very excited about what our student athletes do in the classroom. We're excited about what they do in the community, and it's certainly excited about what they do on the field or in the competition arena. So we're happy to be able to support them. We have great coaches, as Coach Schiding has mentioned. We've got great staff that make those things work, and a compliance officer that works tirelessly to make sure things are going well. So we're excited about the direction we're going. It's just unprecedented times kind of put a damper on some of the spirit that we normally would feel.
Now, Justin, you mentioned keeping in touch through the internet and social media. Tell me how that has impacted, especially your role of being able to communicate with people. Social media is playing such a big role. We're talking about the internet now with interviews like this, and how that has affected your role.
It's somewhat. I mean, a lot of what we do on a daily basis is to feed social media and to feed electronic media and our website and whatnot. And, really a lot of it, what we've done is just moved some of the work that we typically would do in the summer a little bit, closer to now. And, we're working with getting some highlight films done, and we push those out on a probably 2 or twice a week basis. And we go back and we're doing a this day in Lions history type thing there where we try to focus on some things that have happened in the past. But, our marketing department has done a good job too. They'll put out something today with some of our student athletes. They did a little video as well. And it's just trying to keep just keep in touch with our student athletes. They've got such a great story to tell, and it's really they make it easy for us. And it's trying to continue to tell that story like we do throughout the year and in the times where we really we don't see them. So it's communicating via text or Zoom or something like this just to get the job done.
Of course, you're communicating with your current athletes, and then Jared, talking about the recruiting aspect, people are probably wondering, what are you doing for the future athletes and coach as well? You're not having that opportunity for campus visits. How are you trying to talk to those potential student athletes of the future? Well,
and that all varies upon each coaching staff and their process for it. But obviously, a lot of things are going online. Where they're communicating a lot more effectively, I think, between videos. And I'm sure Coach Schiding could talk to this. I know our football staff and basketball and several of those staffs have been working really well to try to get the virtual experience on how to recruit. The NCAA, the NLIs are available now as far as effective of yesterday, so we can sign again. There was a kind of a moratorium on that for a little bit. And then, of course, when we actually are able to open up our campus and get it out there and for folks to see, I can say, so again, each coach will probably have to speak to that. I'm sure Coach Schiding could. I can just speak from perspective of having a son who's a junior, being recruited by several schools, some Big Ten schools and stuff, and how they're dealing with it. And it's a lot of communication and email and phone calls. And so I imagine, and then video links to watch some things. I imagine that's what is going on. I know from what I've seen on our Twitter accounts and so forth, that's also the real effective way to communicate with current high school students and prospects as junior college as well. So maybe Coach Schiding wants to add a little bit more to that. That'd be great.
Coach, you mentioned, the future and opportunities. You have future athletes that you're probably hoping to talk to as well and communicate with. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Yes, it's for track and field. I think we have a pretty unique perspective on recruiting because much of what we look at are pretty cut and dry marks. With recruiting, we can look at distances, we can look at times, we can look at heights. And certainly we like to watch video, and we need to try to evaluate them in person the best we can. Since that's not able, it's a lot of video watching. It's a lot of communication with their coaches on potential. And there's a very large amount of student athletes right now that are still looking, that we're depending upon their senior year to really try to hit the marks to be recruited. And I think at the high school level as well and club coach level as well, they're doing a tremendous job of getting lists out and really trying to help these student athletes to try to take that next step into college. So we've actually had a lot of success in the last couple of weeks reaching out to very talented student athletes that have either slipped through the cracks or that are still looking, still making their choice on college. So it's social media has just been a game changer when it comes to recruiting for all sports. But we're able to get in touch with kids, honestly, just as easily, if not easier now, since they have their phones more readily available than we have in the past. But it's certainly changed because, we've gone to the extent of having a drive-through campus on video type, experience with some of the kids. You can go through, take pictures of the campus because they can see things online, which is tremendous. But having that experience is definitely a change for the recruiting aspect of it. But our coaches are relentless recruiters and really just out there trying to bring in more talent.
And Justin, he mentioned a point that, today's students really do live on their phones. I imagine you have the athletic app. You have a lot of ways to reach students beyond just the computer. They have that social media with them all the time.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times they see things sometimes before we see things, and they interact with each other on Twitter or on, whatever, however, it means. A lot of the challenge of what we do is trying to figure out how to reach that particular demographic, and it changes on a daily basis. There are new ways that they are entertained, new ways that they get their information, and we, as a group here between myself and our marketing group, we on a daily basis are out there searching for those ways and ways to better to get our story out, to get our word out, and make it easier for them to interact with us.
Now, Jared, I know the university as a whole is making an effort to reach out to all the students. There's a phone call, campaign, basically you could call it. Just imagine all of your coaches and staff are really trying to reach out to those individual athletes and see how they're doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Our coaches are doing a wonderful job in communicating with their student athletes in each of their programs, our overall student athletes, as well as our compliance office sends out regular updates to keep them informed. Say, for example, with this grade changing opportunity here up and through May 4th, I believe.
They can choose how to receive their final grades, right?
Right, exactly. And so, she's communicating that with them, and then she is considered one of those workers that needs to be available for them. So she's in the office where they can call or they can Zoom or email, and she's able to respond. Obviously, their eligibility is a primary concern as we move forward, and the way the things are changing so quickly and rapidly, it's challenging to keep up with it as it is. The NCAA changes things on a weekly basis, as does the MIAA. And so whatever's more restrictive is the ones that we have to apply. So she's doing a great job of communicating that with our coaches, also with our with our student athletes, and then with me as well as other senior administration who kind of work through those details and make sure we're up to speed on what's going on. Because we have those conference calls twice a week, and we vote on those issues, and we need her input to make sure we understand fully the small consequences or unintended consequences that occur with regulations that change. So, but yeah, the communications is critical, and I believe it's getting out there well, and obviously our coaches are a big part of that, of communicating that information as well.
Now, you mentioned eligibility, and people have heard stories about, students who couldn't compete in the spring, they could continue their eligibility. Are you getting questions along those lines? What do I do? I wasn't able to use that, season.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the easier questions actually, is if you're a spring sport, you do get that season back. There's some caveats to it, as far as how it works, but that's been relatively easy. It's the other 37 changes that we've had occur are a little more challenging to follow and regulate. But yeah, the student athletes, I think, seem to be up to speed on that. That's not, they do have to make decisions, and I know they've been working with their coaches to determine if they want to return or not return. We've gathered that information appropriately, because that does make a difference in financial opportunities moving forward if we're tying up some money for some student athletes that we expected would graduate and moved on and are choosing to stay for another year. That does make some changes in how we handle that. But otherwise, things are going pretty well with it. I believe the communication's well. I believe that they understand certainly that component of the regulations.
Now, Coach is keeping in touch with athletes. Coach Schiding, I know that you're not necessarily coaching them on their performances and how to run and so forth, but do you get a feel from the students, athletes that you talk to, that they are indeed continuing some sort of training, trying to keep in shape for their sport, or whether it's track or field?
Good question. At this point, we can't have. I want to make sure I word this right, compliance-wise. We can't do very much with them. We can give them suggested workouts to do on their own. We can't have virtual workouts with them. And truly, they're not supposed to be reporting back every little thing that they're doing. I prepared a packet for the student athletes that I coach on the team that is just very general, has suggestions on what they can do, gives them a lot of choices. And really, I think that, I'm only speaking for my team in particular here. And I would assume it's consistent across the board, but I feel like our student athletes are disciplined enough that they know what they need to be doing at this point. I think one of the big fears that we have for our sport is we're a year-round sport. Most of these programs have one season of competition. Well, if you look at our distance kids, they compete in all 3 seasons. Our track kids compete in 2 out of 3. Well, we feel for the track kids that now missed an outdoor season, and the only thing they have to look forward to is the next preseason, which is typically not their favorite time of year. But I feel like our student athletes I think they're intelligent enough that they know what they should be doing. And really, we just have to have a level of trust with them that they're going to continue to do what has to be done in this time. And truly hoping that once we get to May, which is crazy that it's coming up as quickly as it is, it will be back to, hey, here's summer workouts and let's get ready for fall again. But really, it's hopefully as an old coach used to tell me, hopefully the hay's in the barn. They understand what they need to do and they can move forward having a level of responsibility for themselves.
Now, Jared, he mentions a point that I guess for a student athlete to be at the collegiate level, they have to have that commitment to begin with. It's not just I'm going to compete during my season. It's almost a year-round desire for them to succeed in their sport. So they're going to try to work on being fit. Is that an assumption that you would look at overall for student athletes, that they're going to have that desire to continue to be fit for their sport? It's something that that you've encountered, student athletes, in addition to going to school and studying, but they're also concerned about being the best they can be in their sport. Jared?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to Brian. But yeah, absolutely. When, our student athletes are dedicated, they're dedicated to the classroom, they're dedicated to what they're doing physically. You can see them out and about. When I'm going towards campus, I do see a few of them out there running. Certainly the distance guys are and ladies are working hard that way, our student athletes. But absolutely, that's the expectation. And at the level that we're at the highest level of Division II. Our athletes they're dedicated to trying to do better. Now, there's only so much they can do with restrictions on with the compliance rules, and certainly with the facilities that they have access to. But they're doing everything they should be doing, and I think that Coach Schiding is 100% correct that we have faith that they're going to do the right things, and we believe that they are, because that's how they got to be to this point. They're motivated, they're disciplined, they understand what they need to do to get better.
Justin, as you're looking to the future, you say you're doing a lot of things now that you normally would have done in the summer. What are you looking for when the doors open up again and you're open for business, as far as helping to communicate from the media relations aspect, being able to get the word out that, we're, quote, back, and when that time comes, we're back in business?
I think for me, it's just the social interaction with the staff and the students. I think that's going to be the key. It's going to be one of those things where you haven't seen, any people outside of your family face to face in a long time. And then that's just going to be the fun part of getting back and being a group, being a family like we are, and just being able to interact on a daily basis with your friends and family. So that's going to be the main thing that I'm sure they're all looking forward to.
So a lot of unity. Coach, are you sensing that from your athletes that you've been keeping in touch with, that they can Zoom, they can Facebook, they can talk to each other, but to be able to be together again is a big goal for them? It's
a huge part of sport, is the socialization of these student athletes. We just put together a full report, because we have right around 100 student athletes on our team. And within the last 2 days, each coach has talked to every single one of those student athletes. We put a report in so we could give it to Corey Reed, and then in compliance, and Julie Wingert. And the number, well, I can't say the number one, but the most common comment from each one of these student athletes: they're doing great. Communication from administration, from the campus, has been really good for them. Some of them are really struggling with the online aspect right now, but the most common comment from all of them is they just miss the team. They miss being on campus. They miss being around their peers. And that's really challenging for these kids, because in our sport, it is a very social sport. 100 kids on our team, they're used to seeing each other every day, and they miss each other. And we do a good job, I think, of communicating with them. I have a Zoom meeting set up with all the jumpers tomorrow, just so they can see each other at the same time. And most of our coaches are doing the same thing. But yeah, it's huge. That peer interaction is what's really being missed right now, and it's a challenge for them.
And Jared, looking to the future, I know there's still so many unknowns. We keep saying May, things get back to normal. Even that's an unknown at this time as we're recording. But from the athletic department, the director's position, what are your feelings, or what message would you like to give to the athletes, as well as, the campus community?
Well, I mean, this is going to go by at some point, and we're going to be back to some resemblance of a normal. But for the student athletes, it's just take care of each other, take care of yourselves in this time. And Coach is 100% accurate on what he's talking about. Our athletes camaraderie is a thing that's hard to explain, but it's a reality. And they spend so much time together, not just practicing, but on buses traveling, and at a track meet that goes on for 2 days, and it's 9 hours each day. And they're just so used to being around each other, and they'll do anything for each other. And suddenly they're thrust into an environment where they don't have that. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're being strong mentally, and understanding that there's going to be a lot of distress that goes on. And if you're having issues, you need to let us know, let your coach know, and we can try to figure out some ways to help. But it's a difficult time. And some of these student athletes are here by themselves, isolated. They're not even with their family, because their families from another country or far away. And so just to try to be able to give them that support they need to have, and reinforce with them that this is going to go by, and we'll be able to get back to something and that we're used to. But in the meantime, be strong. And if you need something, let us know.
So really making them aware of the resources that are out there, like every student, but also, that you have these people there to help you if you need help.
Yeah, absolutely. And our coaches are great at relaying that information. And I don't think there's very many student athletes that know that our coaches wouldn't do anything for them. They're not just employees in a sense. They are people that we're helping try to grow and develop and be successful citizens in society. And we love it when they graduate, and we love it when we hear their success stories and see how they compete in life and have great families and all that. And so we're in this for them, and that's why we do what we do, and we're looking forward to getting them back here. In the meantime, though, there's all sorts of resources available, including we sent out a list, I think, a day or two ago that shows some food available, because not everybody has access to that. And the Joplin community's got a very supportive community for food pantries. And while the Line Co-op is not available right now, there are some other things available, so we relayed that information out as well. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at, but we're excited about the future, and we're excited about seeing how they come out of this stronger than before.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank the three of you for joining me today. I think that giving this perspective from the athletic department and student athletes, another aspect of our campus, having to adjust at this time is very important to share with the community. So thank the three of you for being here for this interview today.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. And we're going to continue trying to do these interviews, so people who are watching will continue to look at other areas of Missouri Southern and getting information out for the campus and the community. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you.